Millionaire left a $5 tip the waitress. Didn't know the millionaire was watching her every move. The waitress never expected a mere $5 tip to mark the beginning of a life-altering ordeal. That morning, she'd only been focused on keeping her shift afloat, juggling coffee refills, balancing trays of food, and managing the everyday drama that accompanied her job. Little did she know, the unassuming businessman in the corner booth was watching her every move with a keen, calculating eye. What seemed like a mundane encounter would soon spiral into a series of dramatic twists involving hidden motives, heartbreak, and life-changing revelations. Buckle up for a tale that proves a single tip can unveil unimaginable truths and that karma always has the final say. A crisp morning sun shone through the windows of the Old Pine Diner, a once quaint establishment that had fallen on hard times. Its faded sign and slightly chipped paint didn't stop loyal locals from piling in for their favorite omelets and bottomless cups of coffee. People came here for a sense of community, but they also came out of habit. It was a place that refused to change even as the bustling city around it continued to evolve. Caroline Russell, known to most patrons simply as Carrie, rushed behind the counter refilling mugs, wiping tables and taking orders in rapid succession. At 28, she looked older than she was, mostly due to the permanent worry lines on her forehead. She'd been working double shifts for months, trying to cover rent, her younger sister's textbooks at college, and the ever-growing medical bills for her mother. Nobody else in her family had stepped up, leaving Carrie to shoulder the burdens alone. Normally, she started her day with forced optimism, greeting each customer with a polite smile, but on this particular morning, the exhaustion seeped through every pore. She nearly spilled a pitcher of orange juice on a table full of regulars, earning a few half-hearted chuckles and teasing remarks about needing another cup of coffee. She mumbled apologies and forced a smile, determined to keep the vibe cheerful, at least on the surface. Little did Carrie know that in a corner booth, partially hidden behind the morning paper, sat an astute observer, a man in a tailored suit who quietly sipped his coffee, watching everything in the diner unfold. That man was Raymond Lancaster, a name few recognized in daily conversation, but one that carried immense weight in financial circles. An elusive millionaire, rumored to own several properties in far-flung corners of the world. He also liked to invest quietly in struggling local businesses. Stories circulated about how Raymond never flaunted his wealth. He'd once been spotted driving a modest sedan instead of a luxury car, or wearing sneakers with his suit jacket. Some believed he was eccentric, others thought he simply preferred anonymity. Raymond was in town to evaluate a small chain of diners that had caught his eye for potential investment. The Old Pine Diner was on his list. He'd studied the location's financial statements, overhead costs, and community reputation, but he believed in witnessing day-to-day operations in person. That morning, he slipped into the diner, took a seat by the window, and asked for a cup of black coffee. Carrie, busy juggling tasks, had barely noticed him. Just another customer, she assumed. He liked to test the waters before approaching any business deal. One method he employed was observing how staff treated not just customers, but each other. Good hearts and genuine attitudes mattered to him as much as profits. With eyes keenly focused, he noted the way Carrie seemed to run the entire place on her own, how she paused to smile at the older gentleman reading the sports pages, and how she always tried to say something personal to each regular. Despite her fatigue, she remained kind. A strange thought occurred to him. If he left a relatively small tip, how would she respond? He was used to seeing employees who were polite only when the money was good. If the tip was meager, they might morph from sweet to sour. But something about Carrie felt different, and it nagged at him to find out if her warmth was genuine. The rush dissipated around 11 as the diner's morning patrons cleared out. A second wave would come for lunch soon, but Carrie had about 30 minutes to catch her breath. She leaned against the counter, waiting for the next order, when she noticed Raymond folding up his newspaper. He stood, placed his payment in the checkbook, and flashed her the slightest nod before heading toward the door. She mustered her usual polite farewell. "Have a great day. Come back soon." But he was already out of earshot. With a tired sigh, she opened the checkbook to retrieve the bill and tip. To her surprise, she found a neat stack of dollar bills, totaling a modest $5. For a meal that had cost almost $15, it was far below the customary tip in the city. Carrie's initial reaction was a twinge of disappointment. She'd worked hard, and every extra dollar mattered. But old lessons from her grandmother echoed in her head about gratitude for any kindness, no matter how small. She put the tip into her apron pocket without a single scowl, shrugging off the pang of financial frustration. She had no idea that Raymond, now standing outside on the sidewalk, could still see her reaction through the wide windows. He watched for anger or bitterness, but instead he saw Carrie shake her head with a faint, accepting smile, then move on to the next table. No tantrum, no eye rolling, just a quiet acceptance. Raymond made a mental note. This was interesting. This woman wasn't just putting on a facade. He'd observed her kindness throughout the morning, and even now, when faced with a minimal tip, she didn't break character. Something about her gentle dignity stirred the beginnings of a plan in his mind. Maybe he'd come back sooner than he'd intended. For Carrie, life wasn't just about the diner. After work, she would take a bus across town to visit her mother, who had been diagnosed with a chronic illness 2 years prior. Mounting hospital bills had drained any savings Carrie once had, forcing her to take night shifts at a neighboring coffee shop on top of everything else. Her dreams of returning to college for a business degree had long been set aside. She told herself she could revisit those goals someday, but deep down she worried that day might never come. Between caring for her mother, keeping in touch with her sister, who studied at a state university, and maintaining a tenuous social life, Carrie felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her father had skipped out years ago, and her mother had worked multiple odd jobs until the illness worsened, leaving her unable to stand for long periods. Carrie's sister was younger, still forging her path, so Carrie had assumed the role of provider without complaint most of the time. At night, she'd often stare at the ceiling of her tiny apartment and wonder if she could ever catch a break. She'd read about millionaires giving lavish tips to waiters and waitresses in viral online stories, thousands of dollars left behind as an act of generosity. But that never happened to her. The large sum of tips she collected each week barely kept her afloat, so she learned to find satisfaction in small mercies. The $5 tip from that mysterious man had been no different, just another deposit in the jar she kept hidden at home for life's unexpected emergencies. A few days later, during the lull between breakfast and lunch, the door jingled open and in walked Raymond Lancaster again. This time, Carrie immediately recognized him, the short salt and pepper hair, sharp gaze, and crisp suit. Even though he'd left a smaller tip than usual, she smiled. Maybe he came for the home-style pancakes or the diner's famous biscuits. The place might look run down, but loyal customers swore by its food. "Welcome back," she said, preparing to seat him. He nodded politely and took the same corner booth. This time, curiosity stirred in Carrie's mind. Why choose the same table? She pushed aside her questions and handed him a menu. Today, the diner was quieter than normal, giving them both room to breathe. Raymond placed a simple order coffee and the breakfast special. He folded his hands neatly, looking around as if memorizing every detail of the decor, from the brown vinyl seats to the old Coca-Cola sign that had hung near the kitchen for decades. Carrie tried to give him his space, refilling his coffee silently and making small talk only when prompted. But halfway through his meal, he surprised her with a question, "Do you enjoy working here?" His voice was soft, yet carried a distinct authority. Caught off guard, she paused. "I do. It's not the easiest job, but I love the regulars, and I like making sure everyone leaves full and happy." Raymond nodded, took a sip of coffee, then returned to his eggs. Carrie walked away, puzzled by his sudden interest. In her head, she reminded herself that some patrons just like to chat. Still, she sensed a deeper intention behind his question. While Carrie was busy attending to other patrons, her co-worker, Jessica, sidled up next to Raymond's booth. Jessica was a brand new waitress at the Old Pine Diner, young, ambitious, and always scanning for opportunities to get ahead. She'd already made a few snide remarks about Carrie's saintly behavior and had even commented that Carrie was too soft to advance in life. Jessica leaned in close to Raymond and offered a bright smile. "I can get you anything else if you'd like, sir. Dessert, maybe? We have a great apple pie." Her tone dripped with an eagerness to please, borderline flirtation. Raymond glanced up. "No, thank you," he said. "I'm quite satisfied, but I appreciate you asking." Jessica, noting the expensive suit and the understated confidence that dripped from Raymond's demeanor, decided to push a little harder. She was convinced he had money, lots of it. She was the type who believed people were walking wallets waiting to be tapped. If a customer seemed wealthier than average, she'd bend over backward to impress them. From a distance, Carrie saw Jessica hovering, her posture a tad too friendly, her expression a bit too calculated. Carrie had learned not to judge people for wanting better tips, but something about Jessica's approach always felt predatory. Carrie sighed and occupied herself at the register, hoping Jessica would yield some personal space. Raymond, on the other hand, was collecting information in his usual discreet way. He observed Jessica's forced laugh and the way she kept highlighting the diner's premium offerings. Then he caught a glimpse of Carrie wiping down a table, her eyes flicking anxiously toward them. He wondered if Carrie felt overshadowed or anxious about her job. The tension intrigued him. After Raymond finished eating, he left the same $5 tip on the table, then headed to the door without further conversation. Jessica picked up the checkbook this time and visibly frowned at the small amount. She turned toward Carrie with a huff, muttering, "That's it. You've got to be kidding me. A man in a suit only leaves $5? Carrie simply shrugged, her composure unwavering. "At least it's something," she said. Jessica rolled her eyes and placed the money on the counter. "Sure, peanuts are still peanuts." She let out an exasperated sigh, then stormed off to the back to complain to the cook about cheap, rich guys. What neither of them realized was that Raymond hadn't completely left yet. He stood just outside the entrance, once again peering through the glass. He noticed Jessica's frustration and Carrie's resignation. The contrast between the two couldn't have been more apparent. He left for his next meeting with a mix of curiosity and something akin to admiration. Carrie's attitude, her stubborn gratefulness in the face of adversity, continued to confirm his hunch. The diner itself needed substantial financial input, but the heart of its operation was more important to him than any potential returns. Later that evening, sitting in his rented penthouse suite at the Ritz-Carlton, Raymond studied the numbers for the Old Pine Diner. Maybe, he thought, it could be more than just a business transaction. He found himself entertaining unusual ideas, like personally testing Carrie's boundaries. Could someone remain that gracious if their life took a turn for the worse? What if an extraordinary opportunity was dangled in front of her? Would she remain humble or become greedy? Over the next week, Raymond quietly reached out to local realtors, bankers, and the diner's suppliers. He discovered that the Old Pine Diner was on shaky ground financially. The owner, a man named Clint Matthews, was close to retirement and battling health issues. The diner's upkeep had been neglected over time, creating a perfect storm that threatened its existence within a year. Yet, every person Raymond talked to echoed the same sentiment. That place is the heart of the community. If it closes, a piece of history goes with it. Some folks even credited Carrie with single-handedly keeping the diner's morale afloat. If she ever left, they believed the diner would lose its soul. Intrigued, Raymond met with Clint Matthews one afternoon after the diner's closing time. Clint, a heavy-set man in his late 50s, was initially suspicious of a smooth-talking businessman. But as Raymond explained his interest in possibly investing or even purchasing the place, Clint's eyes lit up. However, he seemed hesitant about handing the reins to an outsider. "It's not just a business," Clint said. "It's where families come to celebrate birthdays, where grandparents bring their grandkids for Sunday breakfast. It's community. I don't want it to turn into some cold chain restaurant." Raymond reassured him that if he took over, he'd keep the spirit of the old Pine Diner intact. He insisted he wanted to maintain its authenticity. Clint softened, admitting he had no one else to pass it on to, but said he needed time to think. This suited Raymond perfectly. He wasn't in a rush. He had more to observe, especially when it came to one waitress who still had no idea the magnitude of the role she was about to play. A few evenings later, while doing her night shift at a nearby cafe, Carrie noticed a well-dressed courier walk in. He looked around the shop until he spotted her. Approaching with a polite nod, he handed her an envelope. Confused, Carrie wiped her hands on her apron and took it. The courier vanished as quickly as he arrived, leaving her with a swirl of questions. Inside the envelope was a gift certificate for $1,000 to a high-end department store, along with a simple note that read, "For someone who deserves a little luxury, no address. No phone number." Just that cryptic initial. Carrie's heart pounded. She'd never received such a lavish gift. Part of her wanted to be elated. She could buy necessities for her mother, or new shoes for her sister's part-time job. But the store in question primarily sold designer clothing and accessories she'd only seen celebrities wear in magazines. She felt guilty at the idea of spending this on herself when medical bills loomed overhead. More disturbing was the suspicion that she had no idea who R was or why they sent it. She left the envelope in her locker, deciding it was too big of a mystery to unravel at the moment. Only later, lying awake in her modest apartment, did she recall Raymond's curious presence. Could it be him? The initial R matched his name. But how would he have known where she worked at night? The thought made her uneasy. She wasn't sure whether to be grateful or frightened. Over the following days, Carrie wrestled with what to do about the gift certificate. She confessed to her best friend, Sabrina, about the mysterious envelope. Sabrina, who worked as a nurse at the local clinic, insisted Carrie should treat herself for once. Carrie, though, worried that it felt transactional. Even if it was from Raymond, she barely knew him. What if accepting it implied some unspoken agreement? Meanwhile, Jessica caught wind that Carrie had received some lavish gift. One of the cafe staff had posted a quick mention on social media about Carrie's secret admirer, and Jessica's petty jealousy flared. She cornered Carrie in the diner's break room, pressing for details. "So, who's the rich guy showering you with gifts?" Jessica asked, with an edge of sarcasm. "Nice to see some people just get lucky out of nowhere. It's not like that," Carrie insisted. "I have no idea what he wants from me. It's just a random note." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Random? Sure. Some of us bust our butts trying to score decent tips, and you're getting $1,000 gift certificates. Must be nice." Carrie shook her head, feeling both defensive and confused. She never asked for any of this. It was unsettling how quickly her co-worker's resentment flared. Jessica's tone suggested Carrie had used some underhanded means to snag an admirer. In truth, Carrie wished she could just return the gift. The entire situation cast a shadow over her peaceful routine, and each day she felt the tension mounting. One chilly afternoon, Carrie stepped outside for her short 15-minute break. The alley behind the diner was quieter than the front, offering a moment of solitude. As she exhaled, watching her breath form little clouds in the crisp air, she saw a figure at the far end of the alley, Raymond, holding a cell phone to his ear. He ended the call when he noticed her. For a moment, the two locked eyes. Carrie's pulse quickened. He walked over, exuding that same calm, measured energy. "Hello, Caroline," he said. The use of her full name took her by surprise. "I hope you're doing well." She mustered her courage and nodded. "I am, thank you. Did you by any chance send me something?" Raymond's face revealed nothing at first, then a small smile appeared. "I wanted to offer a token of appreciation for all your hard work." Carrie was torn between gratitude and wariness. "It was too much," she whispered. "A kind gesture, but I really can't accept something like that. Medical bills, my mother." She trailed off, feeling tears threaten her composure. Raymond reached into his wallet, pulled out a business card, and handed it to her. "If you ever need anything at all, call me. I believe in investing in good people, not just good businesses." With that, he walked away, leaving Carrie trembling. She glanced at the card. It had a simple design, Lancaster and Associates, with a direct phone number. Suddenly the puzzle pieces began to fit. He was wealthy, connected, and apparently had an eye on her. But for what purpose? Word spread quickly through the diner and the small cafe. Rumors that Carrie was entangled in some sugar daddy arrangement with a mysterious businessman trickled around corners and through whispered conversations. Jessica was the most vocal, gleefully whispering that Carrie must be offering special services to get these perks. The gossip made Carrie's stomach churn. She worked too hard for anyone to undermine her character. One afternoon, after a grueling shift and a pile of new bills left by her mother's doctor, Carrie sat in the back office to collect her thoughts. The manager, a kind older woman named Gina, walked in and placed a comforting hand on Carrie's shoulder. "Don't let that talk get to you," Gina said. "I've been in this business for decades, honey. Sometimes people just can't handle it when life throws one person a bit of kindness." Carrie nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. Gina's support meant the world to her, but no amount of reassurance could quell the roiling storm in her heart. She felt responsible for quashing rumors, yet she was also desperate. Her mother's condition was worsening. Her sister had called last week, confessing she might drop out of college to help with bills. Carrie didn't want that. She wanted her sister to succeed, to have a future free from these burdens. Staring at Raymond's business card in her pocket, she felt a conflict. Pride told her not to rely on a stranger, but practicality whispered that maybe his help could save her family. If he truly was an investor with philanthropic tendencies, maybe turning him down was foolish. A week passed before Carrie found the courage to dial the number on Raymond's card. Her heart hammered as each ring echoed in her ear. Finally, he picked up. He sounded calm, almost as if he'd been expecting her call. "Carrie," he said, his voice warm, "I'm glad you called." "How can I help you?" She inhaled deeply. "I wanted to return your gift certificate. I appreciate what you tried to do, but I can't keep it. I have other priorities right now. If you're sincere about wanting to help, I'd rather it not be in luxury store vouchers." Silence. Then a gentle chuckle. "Fair enough. I have a proposition then. Let's meet. Bring the gift certificate if you like, and we'll discuss another arrangement." Her nerves rattled, but she agreed. They decided to meet at a local coffee house near her apartment, one not affiliated with her workplace. If she was going to find out what kind of man Raymond truly was, she wanted neutral territory. The next morning, she found Raymond seated at a small table by the window of a cozy cafe. He wore a simple sweater, looking more like a friendly neighbor than a millionaire. Carrie clutched the envelope in one hand, her other hand trembling with anxiety. After ordering a latte, she joined him. He thanked her for coming, then got straight to business. "I'm considering purchasing the Old Pine Diner. It needs funding, renovations, a better marketing strategy, and it needs good people like you." Carrie's eyes widened. "You want me to run it?" "In a manner of speaking," he replied. "Clint Matthews is ready to sell. I'd like to keep him on in an advisory role, but I need someone trustworthy to manage daily operations. You know the customers, the menu, and the staff better than anyone. I've done my research." Her heart soared and sank at the same time. While it was an unbelievable opportunity, she had no formal management training. Moreover, rumors about her receiving favors would explode if this came to pass. I don't have the money for a partnership," she stammered, "and I don't have a degree in business." Raymond raised an eyebrow. "You have experience, determination, and compassion. A degree is only paper without those qualities. As for the money, think of it this way. You'd become a salaried manager with a profit-sharing arrangement. No initial investment on your part. I take on the financial risk. You run the diner as your own and learn on the job." Carrie's mind spun. The possibility of financial stability could solve her family's troubles. But it also felt surreal. "Why me?" she whispered. Raymond leaned forward, meeting her eyes. "Because I've watched you. You have the heart to keep that diner alive. Not everyone does." Carrie couldn't answer right away. She needed time, but time was a luxury she didn't have. Before she could delve deeper, Jessica and two other co-workers happened to walk into the same cafe for lunch. They spotted Carrie with Raymond at once. Jessica's expression darkened, a sneer curling her lips. She quickly snapped photos on her phone, no doubt fueling the rumor mill. Carrie excused herself and rushed to the restroom, her pulse pounding in her ears. She felt cornered, overwhelmed by the choice laid at her feet. On one hand, management at the Old Pine Diner could mean a stable future for her family and the chance to finally break free of crushing debt. On the other hand, the gossip, the assumptions, and the potential resentment from staff who might believe she only got this due to favoritism could make her life miserable. When she finally emerged, Raymond stood by the counter, waiting patiently. He gave her a calm smile. "My offer stands," he said, placing a small folder in her hands. "It's a draft of the contract. No pressure. Read it and decide." Carrie nodded, grateful for his respectful approach. As he left, Jessica sauntered over with a mocking grin. Well, she drawled. "Looks like you hit the jackpot. The question is, what's the price?" Carrie could only stare, mouth dry. The sense of foreboding gnawed at her. Yes, it seemed like an unimaginable break, but something about these turn of events felt too good, too fast. That evening, Carrie visited her mother in the hospital. She brought groceries, paid for an upcoming round of medication, then pulled up a chair by the bed. Her mother, pale but smiling, thanked her for her unwavering support. Carrie's eyes brimmed with tears. She shared the news about Raymond's offer, leaving out certain details about the rumors and tension at work. Her mother listened intently. "It's a blessing," her mother said, her voice weak but determined. "Take it, honey. Opportunities like this don't come around often. You've spent your whole life sacrificing for others. It's time something good happened for you." Her mother's unwavering faith in her gave Carrie a burst of courage. That night, she pored over the draft contract. It outlined a clear path. She would become the general manager at a strong salary, plus a small percentage of monthly profits. Over time, if the diner flourished, she could buy an equity stake. The more she read, the more it felt like a dream scenario. But dreams have a habit of attracting envy and negativity, as she would soon find out. The next day, Raymond arrived at the Old Pine Diner unannounced, accompanied by Clint Matthews. Together, they made the official announcement to the staff that the diner would be under new ownership, pending final paperwork. Clint assured them that no one would lose their job, but changes were inevitable to improve the restaurant's fortunes. A murmur rippled through the staff. Jessica rolled her eyes and stood with her arms folded. Raymond then introduced Carrie as the soon-to-be general manager if she accepted the position. Shock coated every face in the room. Some applauded or voiced congratulations, while others gawked in disbelief. Jessica scowled, muttering under her breath. Moments later, Jessica lunged forward, thrusting her phone screen in Clint's face. It was a photo of Carrie and Raymond at the coffee house. "This is how she got the job. Cozying up to the new boss behind our backs," she spat, her voice brimming with venom. "She's been working him for weeks, getting special gifts and everything." Carrie's cheeks burned. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but Jessica wouldn't stop. "You think she's so perfect?" Jessica barked. "She's just a gold digger. People like me and others here have real bills too. Why does she get to jump straight to the top?" Raymond raised a hand for silence, his face grave. Clint looked horrified. Finally, Carrie found her voice. "That's enough, Jessica," she said, trembling with rage and embarrassment. "I never asked for any of this. I've been nothing but respectful. I had no idea Mr. Lancaster would offer me a management position." Jessica scoffed. "Right, playing innocent, are we?" Carrie turned to Raymond with pleading eyes. Her mind reeled. Maybe she should decline the position, walk away, and keep her dignity. Then she remembered her mother's words, her sister's future. She gritted her teeth, determined not to let envy rob her family of a fighting chance. Just then, Clint cleared his throat. "Jessica, let's keep this professional. You're out of line." Jessica hissed back. "I'm just exposing the truth. Carrie is conning you all." Raymond's stare could have turned steel to ash. Calmly, he spoke. "If there's any con here, it's that you believe malice is the only path to success. Let me share something. We have surveillance footage of you adding items to customer bills and pocketing the difference. We also have statements from multiple patrons who claimed you gave poor service unless they tipped you heavily." Jessica's face went white. That's a lie," she sputtered. But in her eyes, guilt flashed. She took an involuntary step back. Raymond continued, "I'm not a fool, Jessica. I make it a point to understand every business I invest in. I also watch how employees handle themselves. You've spent a lot of time accusing Carrie of wrongdoing, but you're the one who's been cheating both customers and the diner. Clint and I discussed this with the accountant. The numbers don't lie." A hush fell over the diner. Jessica's mouth hung open, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. Realizing she was cornered, she made a final, desperate attempt. "But I need the money, my rent." Raymond turned his gaze from her, nodding solemnly at Clint. The owner stepped forward. "Jessica, I'm sorry, but you're fired. We can't have this behavior here." She let out a choked sob before grabbing her purse and fleeing. Gasps and murmured exclamations filled the room, but a collective sense of justice hung in the air. All the times Jessica had sneered at Carrie or schemed against her had finally come full circle. In the aftermath, Clint patted Carrie on the shoulder and apologized for letting the rumors get out of hand. He'd suspected Jessica of misconduct, but never had the full proof until Raymond brought it to his attention. Now that it was all in the open, Clint hoped Carrie would accept the management role. As the remaining staff looked on, many exchanged supportive nods and words of encouragement. Raymond took Carrie aside. "I know this is probably overwhelming," he said gently. "You've been under scrutiny you never asked for. But I want you to know this isn't just pity. I see real potential in you, and the diner needs someone who cares as much as you do." Carrie blinked back tears, recalling all the stress and drama of the past few weeks, her mother's medical bills, the scathing rumors, and her personal doubts. But now, an opportunity to do genuine good for both the diner and her family stood right before her. She extended her hand, voice shaky yet resolute. "Yes, Mr. Lancaster, I accept." Applause erupted. Even Clint managed a hearty laugh. Despite the battered walls and chipped paint, the old pine diner radiated a renewed sense of hope that day. Carrie's future, for once, looked bright. She turned to her co-workers with a vow. "We're in this together. Let's make this place the best it can be." Raymond watched from the sidelines, a rare smile gracing his usually reserved features. The waitress, who never complained over a $5 tip, had proven herself not only kind-hearted but resilient. The seeds of compassion he had witnessed that first morning were more than just a fleeting veneer. And with that, the stage was set for a brand new chapter in Carrie's life, a chapter that began with a humble tip and blossomed into a life-changing opportunity, proving that sometimes the smallest gestures hold the greatest potential for transformation. Thank you for watching this dramatic tale of how a small tip turned into the turning point of a lifetime. Carrie's hard work and unshakable character triumphed over rumors and deception, showing us that good deeds do not always go unnoticed, and that karma has its own way of returning both kindness and betrayal. If this story inspired you, remember that every single interaction in life can be a chance to change someone's world, even with something as simple as a small tip or a heartfelt gesture. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button to let us know you want more stories like this. Make sure to share the video with your friends and family who need a reminder that honest hearts always win. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss another uplifting tale. Thank you for watching.